Views expressed in this podcast are solely those of the participants. The hosts make no claim to be literary experts, and their opinions are exactly that, opinions. All creative works discussed or reviewed are the intellectual property of the creators of said stories and is being used under the Fair Use Doctrine.
Hello and welcome to Of Swords and Soulmates, a podcast where we read, watch, and discuss romantasy stories. I'm one of your hosts, Mari, and with me I have Kelly.
Hey everyone, it's Kelly, and we also have Ashley.
Hey guys, it's Ashley. We also have Jonathan.
Hey y'all, it's JP.
So much less enthusiastic.
I'm sorry, y'all. Coming off the cold.
Yes.
Coming off the kid jerk.
Yes. So, unfortunately, Jonathan and Ash are getting over the winter crud. That's what Santa brought them. Today we're going to be doing an end-of-year wrap-up for 2024 and a look forward to the new year. So we won't have a new segment. We're not going to be talking about any one particular book. We're just going to be kind of chatting about the year and the year ahead. And I've got some questions that we'll go through, and we'll go from there. And I don't know that we need to do this in any particular order, so whoever wants to jump in can jump in. The first one is your favorite reading challenge that you tried this year in 2024. And it can be you individually, or it can be us as a group. And it doesn't have to be romantasy, just whatever. Your favorite reading challenge of the year.
So this is my first year challenging myself to anything. I hadn't really followed like Goodreads or anything like that prior to 2024, not in earnest. And I kind of lost sight of it in the last couple of months. But that aside, I did read at least 60 books this year.
Yay.
Which is the first time I've counted. So it's not to say that I've read more or not in the past. But I thought it was pretty cool to like see that, you know, that progress, that kind of accomplishment, that kind of goal. I've never really tracked it before. So it's the only challenge that I gave myself this year.
How about you guys?
I mean, the only challenge I did was the Goodreads challenge, and I read 50 books. I may finish the 51st. Probably not, but we'll see. But it's probably going to be 50 books. And that's more books than I've read in a couple of years because of being in school the last few years before this.
Yeah. You're reading those chunky textbooks.
Yeah.
Oh, challenges. I think my favorite challenge that I tried for 2024 was just when we were going through our own list for this podcast. I thought that was a unique and fun and interesting way to kick it off. So I was really, I'm really stoked that we ventured down that path.
Yeah.
Here.
I'm right there with you. That was my thing too. I think my favorite challenge was like when we decided we were going to go to the Fabled Fantasy thing, and we were like, there are these books. There's a bunch more authors than we're going to be able to read. There's more books than we're going to be able to read before the event comes around, and we started just randomly picking, and I thought that was fun. It was a good time because it's like, it's one thing to read a book with expectations, like if you've heard a book is good, or if you've heard a book has certain tropes in it, or a friend recommends it or something, but then you have certain expectations of that book, as opposed to if you just kind of literally are randomly picking a book from a list. I think the book almost has a better chance because you don't have any expectations.
Yeah.
And I definitely read books I don't think I would have read otherwise, or even known about otherwise. So I think I enjoyed that a lot. I think it was a fun time.
I also feel like it connected us to the event a little bit more, and it made that event so much better. I don't know if I would have had as good a time, because I feel like we had much more to talk about with the authors that were at the event,
Right.
100%.
than we would have if we had flown and kind of like just went blind, or not blind, but kind of as we were.
Yeah. All right, what is a popular book that you own and haven't read yet?
Oh, how much time do you have, Ashley? Because I'm looking at these stacks that they're still in the wrapper.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I can see the shiny.
No, Jonathan, you answer for
cellophane covering
yourself.
these
Yeah, you gotta answer for yourself, my
Oh,
dear.
yeah, now I'll go then. But
Some
I'm
of
just,
these I've read, and these are just trophies.
what are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
Didn't I get you like a set of 5 of that one from that thing? I don't know. You got a lot over there. Did you read that book, Murphy Brown from the other Dragon Boy?
Murtaugh?
Yeah.
I have not read Murtaugh.
Yeah, there you go. What about those other?
Why are you volunteering my answer?
I'm sorry. My bad. You go.
Goodness.
I just know that your list is.
Well, Jonathan, you want to talk? What's your list?
Yeah, you go first.
No, I'm because
No.
yeah,
Because I know
don't
one.
Wait, you know one?
I know one that you have that's popular that you haven't read yet that you have.
Oh, what's that?
The glittery book, the Ruby Dixon.
Yeah, that's Bull Moon Rising.
Full Moon, yeah.
I bought that one. I bought a couple purely for their cover. That was one.
It's a good book, though. I would recommend reading it. I think you'll enjoy it.
I'm definitely going to read it. I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, no, understand.
I'm not lying when I say that currently, at the moment, as the collective works of Juliet Cross stacked on top of it. The other one that got away from me, Masters of Death. I don't even know what that's about.
Olivia Blake.
Another one that
Olivia Blake, yeah.
Yeah, I just thought it was a good looking book.
I've heard great things.
Yeah, so I'm hoping those two, Bull Moon Rising and Masters of Death, I'm hoping to get around to soon.
All right, now Ash is going to get to answer for herself.
So I don't know how popular it is, but I have not read 5 Broken Blades, and now I have to because we're going to that event in January at that Barnes and Noble.
Yeah,
and my Corlin's going to be there.
I've heard good things about that one too. I have not read that one, but I've heard good things about it.
Kelly, how about you?
I don't know. I mean, we have tons of books that Mari's bought that I guess we both own.
I love that.
I mean, I guess I haven't read any more of the ACOTAR books. I haven't read any of that stuff. So I guess I haven't really read a lot of the popular romantic-y stuff. And
you would feel strongly about it if you'd read the second book.
Yeah, it's all about that second book.
ACOTAR really was just okay.
It's all about that second book. So, for me, popular books I own and haven't read yet would be Crescent City 2 and 3, which technically I'm reading Crescent City 2 right now, but I literally haven't picked it up in a good while. So Crescent City 2 and 3. Infernal Devices that you got me, Ash, that I still need to read.
Really serious.
It's pretty. I just need to read it.
Very pretty. She's very controversial too. Like,
yeah,
I don't know all the tea. I don't want to know because I love her so much.
Yeah. I don't know a whole lot, and that's fine. And Wuthering Heights. Wuthering Heights has been on my bookshelf for years. And it was when I first fell in love with Jane Austen. And I was like, oh, so maybe all these classics I thought were stuffy were really good. So I ended up buying, I bought all the Jane Austen, and then I bought Jane Eyre, which I like as well, and Wuthering Heights. And then I found out a little bit more about Wuthering Heights and how apparently everybody is a really not likable character. And so I'm like, that it's just been on my list there to read eventually, and I probably need to read it at some point. But I've never actually read Wuthering Heights, and I have it on my bookshelf. All right, this is an easy question. What new releases are you anticipating in the coming year?
Oh, I got a list.
Same. You can go
I
first,
don't even
Ash.
think these are not in order. Onyx Storm, first and foremost. If anybody on this podcast is not ready for Onyx Storm,
it's Kelly. Kelly's not.
It's only Kelly. Accomplice to the Villain, super excited. Hannah Nicole Mayer, we love you. The Things Gods Break, Abigail Owen.
Mm-hmm.
And you're gonna like this one. I don't know if you've heard. So there are a couple of excuse me. There are a couple of rewrites that are happening this year or releasing this year. So writers, like fan fiction writers on AO3 are now in the process of converting their works into publishable, traditional publishable books. And so we all know about Manacled, which I think you knew, right?
Yeah.
We talked about that, but there's one releasing in the summer, and it's called The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy, which is a rewrite of Draco Malfoy and the Mortifying Ordeal of Being in Love, which is one of my favorite fanfic reads of all time.
Oh, and give me the name that it's actually going to be.
The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy.
Okay.
I can send it to you. I've already pre-ordered it.
Please.
I think there's another rewrite that I didn't save, and I think it's a rewrite of The Auction, which is in the vein of Manacled, but I didn't catch the name. It was all over TikTok, though, so I'm going to try and find it. But I'll send you the link, because I loved Draco Malfoy and the Mortifying Ordeal of Being in Love. That was moving.
I actually haven't read that one, and I've heard great things about it. And it's on my list.
Chef's kiss, 10 out of 10. There was giggling, feet kicking, it was delightful. Absolutely delightful. It was everything that Manacled was without all the depressive scenes.
Nice. Because there was a lot of depressive stuff in there. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the list that I was able to come up with for today. So the Onyx Storm, Accomplice to the Villain, The Things Gods Break, and The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy. That's what I got.
For me, I've got Onyx Storm, of course, easy answer. Emily Wild's Compendium of Lost Tales, which is the third one. Yeah.
Third.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a whole book behind.
Yeah, and it's yeah, I'm excited about those. I really enjoy those. I enjoy those as audiobooks, especially. They're just really, really well done. The Enchanted Greenhouse, which is the sequel to The Spell Shop, where we get to Kaz's backstory, maybe. The Ballad of Falling Dragons, which is the When the Moon Hatched Book 2. And Faithbreaker, which is the God Killer series Book 3. Very excited about all those sequels.
I think 75% of what I'm waiting on Ashley, and Ashley popped out there. What was it? Onyx Storm, The Things Gods Break, Accomplice to the Villain. Mm-hmm. Those three I'm definitely looking forward to.
Dope.
But I'm also looking forward to A Rebel Without a Clause.
Oh, yeah.
Which is coming out in February. Yeah. That's book 1 in the Southern Charm series.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah. It's listed as the Stay a Spell Next Gen. Mm-hmm. So
so it's
forward to that.
Spin-off in the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So looking forward to that. She already has me sold on the cover. Those are the 4 I'm looking forward to. How about you, Kelly?
I think the biggest one I'm looking forward to as far as romantasy goes is probably the next book in the Spell Shop series.
Yeah.
Because I really enjoyed that book. I probably will read the next Assistant to the Villain book. I just haven't read the second one yet. But
you've got time.
I do want to read the second one, just haven't gotten there yet. So I'll probably pick up the third one at some point. But
is there anything that you guys are looking to reread this coming year? Do you guys do rereads? Is there anything you want to reread that you've read before?
I see a lot of Rebecca Yarros in our future. I think a lot of us are going to be rereading Onyx Storm. I think she's been really good, with her Easter eggs.
It's not even out yet.
Well,
next year you'll be rereading.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to reread in this coming year? Yeah.
Yeah. Both. Yeah. Read and reread. I see that. Let me ask you, are you going to hammer through it like on day one? You're going to pick it up and slam it down?
It's a very, very bad habit of mine to hammer.
I absolutely plan to as well.
Consume it.
Yeah. Yes. 100%.
Are you then going to go back through it and do the reread automatically? Okay.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Reread, I have 12 that I reread every year.
Mm-hmm.
I have them on audiobook, but this past year I started collecting them in what I can't think of the format, analog.
Yeah.
Actual paper.
Physical copies.
So those, physical copies. So I like to start my year off with The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And then The Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown. Be Our Guest, which is Disney's Perfecting the Art of Customer Service. Extreme Ownership by Leif Babin and Jocko Willink. Let's see. Impact Players by Liz Wiseman. Digital Body Language by Erica Dawan. Forgive me, I don't know how to say her name. The Verbal Judo, The Gentle Art of Persuasion by George J. Thompson, PhD, and Jerry B. Jenkins. Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek. The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. Creativity Inc., which is the inspirational story behind Pixar. Never Split the Difference, which is negotiating as if your life depended on it, by Chris Voss. Those are my keys. That's the secret to business leadership.
Sounds like homework.
Yeah, my thoughts exactly, Ash. I was like, that sounds like school.
I can't even tell you when I glazed over.
I'll get you. I'll make a
So
certificate for you too.
Okay, well, I generally don't read nonfiction unless it's like really compelling. So for me, it's gonna be all fiction as usual. All fictional, all escapism, all the time. I have some books I always read in December. I always read and reread in December. I'm not really counting them, but I read The Stupidest Angel by Christopher Moore. It's a zombie Christmas book. I love it. Comedy. I read Christmas Carol. I mean, Dickens. It's classic. Nothing like Ghosts at Christmas. Krampus the Yule Lord by Gerald Brom. Love it. Great read, great listen. Beautiful artwork.
I'm sensing a trend.
Creepy Christmas. And then I have the Nutcracker. You have a giant rat king, or a rat king anyways. So yeah, I like my Christmas creepy. Those are my Christmas stuff, but I wasn't really gonna do the Christmas, but I do. That's really the time of year that I mostly reread every year, for sure. I reread those. As far as like what I plan to reread this year that I don't necessarily reread every year, just that I'm thinking about rereading this year, stuff I maybe haven't read in a while. Like it's been probably 2 years since I've gone through and read all of Jane Austen's stuff, 2 or 3 years. So I probably am due for a Jane Austen reread. Everything except Sandition and Mansfield Park, because I don't like those. But I'll reread the rest. I'll probably be rereading Sword Heart this year because I think there's a new version, or a re-release version coming out. It's T. Kingfisher. Love her stuff. Uprooted by Naomi Novik, because it's been since I think the year that came out was when I first read it, and I haven't read it since. And I think that's a good like spring maybe or fall read. I'm sure I'll be rereading Wicked for, I don't know, the billionth time, probably before November when the second movie comes out. Probably I'm going to reread some Anne McCaffrey, Dragon Riders of Pern, because Fourth Wing makes me want to read Anne McCaffrey, and it's been a while, so I think I'm going to try and read that whole series in order, which I've honestly never done. I read it all out of order because my parents weren't billionaires.
Is there an order for it?
Dragon Riders of Pern, yeah, there's actually like 3 different planets that are part of the series. I'll send you the chart, this whole chart for it.
I thought I remember seeing.
There's nothing chart we love more than the chart.
It was very interesting.
Yeah, so like when I read it, it was like just whatever book was in the library wherever we were living at the time. We never actually bought the books because my parents weren't billionaires, and I, like I do now, I read a lot back then, and you know, it was more expensive back then because you didn't have like the Libby app and audiobooks on Audible and all that stuff. So I read them all out of order. So it'd be interesting to read everything in order. All right. So this one, you can answer both or one, whatever you want to do. Favorite new character or author from this year? And new to you. It doesn't have to be a new author, but new to you.
Juliet Cross was new to me this year. And I think we all wholeheartedly fell in love with her.
Yeah.
I thought her writing, I devoured that series like immediately. Probably in a way that I didn't read anything else as quickly this year.
Yeah, go with the same. You know, I really did enjoy Juliet Cross as an author. That's a tough one. So I really did like Abigail Owen's work too. The two of those are my favorite. Yeah, I'm going with that. Juliet Cross, Abigail Owen, favorite author. I don't know that I have a favorite character. It's not
Kaz.
It's not
100% Kaz.
Kaz character. Is that
Kaz or
is that
Lou?
where we're at, Kaz?
Kaz and Lou.
What about
spoke?
Yeah.
What about Kingsley? You know, throwing Kingsley out there.
Fucking Kingsley for the win. That guy. He's such an icon. I can't wait to hear his story.
Yeah, I need to know his story.
I think it's coming. Excuse me. I think it's coming.
Kelly?
Kingsley. Yeah, Kingsley's like tied for Kaz.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked Kaz. I think he was definitely one of the best side characters. This year, there was a lot of new authors that I read. I don't know that I would say one was in particular my favorite, although out of all the new authors I read, maybe the stuff written by T. Kingfisher I enjoyed the most.
I do love some T. Kingfisher. For me, favorite new characters this year was... I almost want to say everybody in Throne of Glass. So if I had to pick one, probably Manon Blackbeak from Throne of Glass was a kick-ass character.
They're on my list of like one of your categories. TOG.
Yes,
on my list.
Same. Maya from The Goblin Emperor by Catherine Edison. It was a book that really caught me off guard. I ended up enjoying it so much. And the main character was just wonderful. As far as authors, as far as new ones to me, this year would be Sebastian Nothwell. Like, I want to read more of his stuff. I really enjoyed his works. Opal Rain. I still need to finish the Dustwalker Bride series. I really like her stuff. And a new one that I just finished maybe a few weeks back is L.L. Starling. She only has one book published. It's the Chronicles of Between. And I really, really enjoyed that. I listened to it as an audiobook, and it feels like a little bit Assistant to the Villain, a little bit Golden Girls, a little bit
That's an interesting
Charmed. I don't even know what else to combine it with. It's an interesting world, and I know she's writing the sequel now. But yeah, I really enjoyed the world she created. So L.L. Starling was a very new to me author this year. Most surprising or disappointing, or both, book.
Interesting. I'm going to stay away from disappointing because I don't want to set the vibe down the wrong path.
We don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. No, I mean, I think disappointing for me was the ending to Three Dark Crowns. Because we were hooked.
Yeah.
And I was really interested to see where it goes. And it wasn't a bad ending. I think it was kind of like Game of Thrones series where they just wrapped it up too fast.
Yeah.
You know, like they tied it up in a bow, and I don't know. It was the ending was strange in that it all just ended so quickly after a 3-book series.
Yeah.
So I think that was my disappointment. Not that it was bad writing or that I didn't like the story or that I didn't like the ending, because arguably I liked the Game of Thrones ending. I just think they expedited it. It's like they ran out of money. They ran out of time. They ran out of ink.
True. Most surprising to me would be the Land of Milk and Honey.
Morning Glory Milk and Farm.
You know what?
Mhm.
That's fair.
Yeah.
We've been trying to talk other people into reading it.
They're
You're
just
like,
a
hear me
surprise,
out.
too.
Hear me out.
Like a chapter into it. Yeah, definitely. Our sister-in-law had was like, huh, interesting.
I don't
I
think she
know.
finished it.
No, I don't think she did either. I think she was like, I gotta go take a shower.
Oh, we got it.
Extra soap.
I downloaded the second book. I just haven't gotten to it.
Yeah, it was surprising to me. I didn't think I would be as
Entertained?
entertained. That's I just didn't. Yeah, I'm surprised.
I
So
still think it could be a
I think part of what I love about that series is because it's an easy, smutty, kind of lures you in, but then she like actually writes a story, and then she also like pulls in some modern references and allegory and like things that are happening in our world, and I'm like, hey, isn't it messed up that X, Y, and Z happened? And
Yeah.
she does that in almost everything of hers that I've read. I read one of her books, or I don't know, collections or whatever, this month. It's called There Arose Such a Clatter, Tales from the Naughty List. And it's a collection of short
That
stories.
was her? I saw
Yeah,
it on your thing.
it's a collection of short stories, Christmas-based. It's not set in Cambric Creek, so it doesn't tie to those works that we read, but it's still the same author and it's similar vibes. And the first story, this gives you an idea for the vibe. Yes, it's sexy, smutty, it's grown-up book, whatever. But it's in a world where Santa and Krampus exist and elves and etc. But like, hey, the economy's tough because all the skilled labor is being outsourced, and so the elves aren't like needed to do carpentry and all that stuff anymore. And like the distribution centers are basically run like Amazon distribution centers, and so it's a really tough work environment, and there's no unions, etc., etc. So like, there's all these like Christmas characters now work at a place called Santa's Workshop, which is like a strip club, and that's how they make their money. That's the concept of the first story, and I'm like, this is brilliant.
They're doing their best.
Yeah.
Poor those reindeer are so horny. See what I did there, Ashley? See how that worked out?
You can't. No.
What? Oh. How about you, Kelly?
Made it
Anything
weird.
disappointing or what's
Surprising?
or surprising?
I think ACOTAR was disappointing given the hype everyone had for it.
I thought we laid it very realistic.
Yeah,
for
we're like, hey, the first book is the worst,
Was
but you got to get through
you
it.
need it, but you got to get. Those are the rules.
No, Kelly's right. It was disappointing.
We're not
Yeah,
taking
no
that away
arguments.
from you guys. We're just saying we set the expectation. We told you it was not.
There's so
gonna be
much,
great.
but people like clamor for like, oh yes, this is a great series.
It is a great series.
A whole cosplay off of Tamlin.
Yeah, but then you told me I'm going to hate him, so I haven't finished it.
Yeah, but you got deep.
Poor Tam Tam.
No, not poor Tam Tam.
My
For
Tam
reasons you
Tams.
haven't discovered yet. Not poor Tam
Yeah.
Tam.
Don't go any further in it, Kelly, or they think you're going to hate the Tammers.
Yeah.
AKA tampon if you type it in a phone.
I mean, tampons are,
That's what people actually call them.
but
Yeah, well,
tampons
that's
have
have you texted it?
tampons are tough. Tampons do a great job. Tampons are a wonderful thing in society.
It is a hard
Yeah.
job. You know what? That's
I don't know
fair.
that tampons deserve that malalignment.
My goodness. Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Kelly, are you done?
Yeah.
My most surprising book was a tie because I can't decide on one. I'm sorry. Surprising was The Goblin Emperor because it was just an amazingly well-written book about like compassion, and it was really good. Butcher and the Blackbird, which is billed as a dark romance, and it's not. Which I'm not a fan of dark romance, but I read it because I promised someone I would. And it's actually like dark humor, and there's a romance. It was like, if you like Mr. Right, the Anna Kendrick, Sam Rockwell movie, I suggest you read or listen to Butcher and Blackbird. And then the one I read fairly recently that was a surprise for me that I liked a lot was The Nightmare Before Christmas, which I think I mentioned it on our Nightmare Before Christmas episode. And it's basically a world where like the holidays exist as like royal families basically, and they're run like corporations or like mafia families, but instead of like money, it's all about joy. So they have like mergers and takeovers and all this for like holiday joy. And the Prince of Christmas and the Prince of Halloween fall in love. Very sweet.
Oh,
Ooh,
Very well done.
very interesting.
sounds so fun.
It is really well done. And a sequel's coming out in March that's like the younger Prince of Christmas and then I guess the Prince of St. Patrick's Day or whatever. And it's called Go Luck Yourself. Yeah, they're fun reads. My disappointment is the same disappointment it was when we talked about the mid-year, which was This Is How You Lose the Time More. That was not a great read for me. All right. Longest and shortest book you read.
Oh. I mean, I feel like 6 Scorched Roses was pretty small. Hold on, I think my Goodreads told me. I forgot to write it down. Somebody else go first.
My shortest book would be Green Eggs and Ham. That is that's another. If you're ever in the need for a change of spirits, I recommend this. This is a pro tip for everybody. A Dr. Seuss book. It takes minutes to read. and it changes your mood and your temperament. So if you're nervous about going into a meeting or you're just having a shitty day, just stop for a second and reset yourself with a Dr. Seuss book. So I do that often. I keep them in the office here. So fully recommend that. That's my shortest book. The longest book, it's got to be, for me, I think it's is Iron Flame longer than Akatar? So I think those two are probably the longest books that I've read this year. Those are like how many pages?
For me, the shortest book I read was Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening. It's a Robert Frost poem, and it's illustrated into a book format by Susan Jeffers. We picked up the book at The Lynx, which is an independent bookstore in Gainesville. And it was just a really, really pretty, really well done illustrated version of that poem. And it's like 32 pages. So that was my shortest read. And then my longest read was Kingdom of Ash, the last of the Throne of Glass books. And it's 984 pages.
Dang.
That's like 3 books in one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dang. Okay. So according to Goodreads, my shortest was Six Scorched Roses, which was 187 pages. And earlier this year, I had done a Harry Potter reread. And so my longest book was 759, which was The Deathly Hallows, which apparently has Rebecca Yarros beat out.
All right. So the next one is the best series.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
I can start if you need time.
I'm lying. I did see it and I wrote down Akatar. And I know that I haven't finished it. And I think it's because I'm so scared because it is unfinished. But as far as like series, and I read a lot, I read a lot of like the Rebecca Yarros contemporary stuff, which I highly recommend. She will kill off a main character. Everybody prepare themselves. She's zero fucks. And I love that for her, not so much for me. So I will highly recommend anything that she has written. I've read most of them. But I think Akatar, and I think it's because book 1 was so awful.
But you gotta do it. You gotta do it to.
But book 2 and 3 really just suck you in, and you're committed.
Yep.
And I think book 3 just ended, just politely enough that I could walk away
for now
with my heart intact. So that's what I have written for that.
Guys,
oh, my goodness, the for series for me, so I have a toss up: Stay a Spell and Empyrean, and I think the only reason I don't have a definitive one is because I haven't finished Stay a Spell yet, and not that Empyrean is that much longer to date, as far as what's out there, but I think I've spent more time with Empyrean than I have with the Stay a Spell series.
Yeah.
But I think they're tied for me. How about you, Kelly?
I think the best series I've read so far this year has been the Paladin's Grace series, Saints of Steel series by T. Kingfisher. I've really enjoyed that.
I love that series so much. I may reread that next year too. We'll see. My best series for me this year was Throne of Glass. Throne of Glass I thought was a very well done story as a whole. Yeah. I will probably be rereading that one next year too, knowing me. We'll see.
Was it book 1 that took you 9 months to get
No, that's
through?
Crescent City.
Crescent City, okay.
Crescent City,
okay,
I'm on book 2 now, and I have been for a while, and haven't touched that second one for a while. So we'll see. Yeah, no, Throne of Glass I read in like a month. It's like 7 books, and the last one is like whatever it was, 900 something pages. And I read them all in I think March of this year. I was like, I'm gonna read Throne of Glass this month, not knowing what I was getting into because I didn't want to. I didn't want to look up anything because I'd already read Akatar, but I didn't want to look up anything about Throne of Glass because there's so many spoilers, and so I was like, I don't know how many books there are. I don't know, if there's a reading. I know nothing.
There are like multiple reading
Yes.
orders too. I definitely feel like an outsider anytime I pass like the merch and the TikToks and the social media stuff, because it is an actual cult following.
Yeah, because it's a complete series. So you have a full
Right.
story. It's I'm not going to start in on it, but that was my best series.
No, I'm gonna do. It's on my list. It's on my list.
Equally, I'd say, or very close to that, is the Monk and the Robot books by Becky Chambers. It's only 2 of them, and they're super tiny, short little books. So the first one is a Psalm for the Wild Built, and really well done little story. Kind of like gives you life lessons. It reminds me of The Little Prince in that, or like The Alchemist, Paulo Coelho. Like it's that kind of a story. Yeah, I would say that. I would say Dustwalker Brides too, but I haven't read them all yet. It just completed this year. She just wrote the last one this year, but I am only on like book 4. So I would say those top 2.
That was so much spicier than I thought it was.
Yeah, it was.
Question so much about myself.
That was everybody, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Unpopular book that you liked, or popular book that you didn't like. And I don't mind going first. For me, it was, I really liked When the Moon Hatched, which a lot of people have not. I hear a lot of bad things about it, but I thought it was really well done. It's just a book that is very difficult to talk about, because if you give the synopsis, you're kind of giving away the whole plot and the whole way that she pulls you through it. So When the Moon Hatched is one that I liked that was unpopular. And for me, one that I disliked that was popular is The Fledgling by Octavia Butler. I really...
Like the Octavia Butler?
Yes. It was...
Octavia wrote a book? And you didn't like it?
I mean, Octavia Butler...
It's not your favorite?
No, I didn't like it at all. It was a vampire book too, which should be up my alley.
Oh.
But the main character is old. Like, I don't know, she's like 100 and something years old, but she's in the body of like a child, I think like a 13, 15-year-old. And she does some really adult things. And I didn't see the reason for it. It didn't work for me. Yeah, okay. It was just, it felt really gross. And I was just like, yeah, I didn't like it. So that's my answer to that.
A popular book that I didn't love. A popular book I didn't like. I don't know that you're not going to like this answer. I didn't love, initially, it took some time, but initially I did not love The Cruel Prince. I didn't see it.
I could see that.
And I think only because I listened to the audiobook and the voice really sucked me in. Excuse me.
When the plot takes a while to get going too.
It does. It really does. And it wasn't unlike I think it was when the book got taken away from me because it was Libby. And then I was like, wait, oh no. What do you mean? So while it was not my favorite book, I thought it was a really good series. I don't think it's everybody's cup of tea, but it does have its own, popular following. I don't know that I would reread it. I don't know that I would read it without it being an audiobook. I think that's probably really what did it for me.
I feel like if I say this book, that Kelly might be thinking the same thing that I'm thinking. So Kelly, you want to read my mind for a moment? Which book that is popular amongst many people that we know and socialize with, like, a book that's popular, they were like, hey, this is the best book ever. You
never said that.
Yeah.
None of us said
but
that.
I didn't like it.
Nobody said that.
None of us.
I didn't like it.
In fact, we were very clear that book was not.
What do you think, Kelly? Which book do you think that would be?
Akatar.
Oh my gosh. It's like we were made to be. It's Kismet. Yeah. 100%.
We're going to have to come back to this conversation when you guys read the second one. All right, so if you guys could have a book redo, what would it be? So if you could read a book again for the first time, basically, which book would you pick? And I can go first. For me, it would be the second ACOTAR book. But of course, you'd have to reread the first one. But it would be the second ACOTAR book. So
Ironically, I have the third ACOTAR book. Not the second, but the third one. There was a lot of shit that happened in book 3.
Yes.
And I know I didn't grasp it all. Like if I could have drank this book, I would have, like, through osmosis.
If I, with fresh eyes, could read a book again, it would probably be The Games Gods Play. I feel like I had a good time reading that book, and I feel like I would like to have that same good time again. Kelly, do you have any do-overs that you'd like to, fresh eyes, take a peek at?
None that we read this year.
It doesn't have to be from this year, just in general in your life.
This year.
I mean, there's tons of books that I would love to read over again. But I don't know. It's not something I really care about talking about. I mean, most of them are books that are either obscure or most people have never heard of.
All right. So a book you wish you would have gotten to this year. A book you had wanted to finish this year.
Oh man, I feel like Mari, since you had to set that goal, there's probably a good list of those for you.
For me, yes.
Yeah.
For me, it's either Kushiel's Dart series, which when we did our little mid-year talk, I mentioned that I was going to read that this year. Didn't read it. Haven't read the first one. Haven't picked up the first one. So the Kushiel's Dart series, because a billion people have recommended it to me for years. So I hopefully will read that next year. We'll see. And then probably finishing up the Dustwalker Brides series now that it's complete. I need to finish the rest of those.
Nice. Ash, you have any that you wish you had gotten to?
Throne of Glass.
You haven't read Throne of Glass? Don't we own it?
We do. There was a sale and I invested and I haven't gotten to it.
Maybe we need to read it as a podcast.
I don't think you're going to get the book. She be thick, girls.
What are we talking? How thick is thick?
Thick is thick.
Is that the 900?
The last one is 900.
BRB.
How big is the first one?
You going again? She's off. She's on a quest now.
She's got visual aids.
Oh yeah, she's getting me. No, I'm out. Sorry. Fuck you. Book 2? No. How many? Those look like.
Book 1 is 432 pages.
Get that. What? Book 1 is. She says book 1 is 432 pages. Are the words just big, and so they needed more pages?
There's a lot of story to tell.
For page count. You said 400. She might have.
The first one is Throne of Glass.
Okay, hold on. The first. Oh, okay. Book 1. We could do book 1. She's now holding up book 1, which looks reasonable. The other 2 books look unreasonable.
There's 7 books.
There are 7 books. Oh God! I should put your headphones on so you can. No. Well, you can talk me into book 1. It looks like a very blah cover though.
And not want to finish it.
That
doesn't make any sense to me. Sorry, I'm back.
Interesting.
I have them out of order, apparently.
Yeah. All right. What was our question again?
Book you wish you'd have gone to this year. Apparently not Throne of Glass for you.
Not Throne of Glass for me. I wish secretly I wish I'd gotten to Masters of Death. I see it when I
It'll
look
be
at
really
it.
It's taunting
Yeah.
you.
Do you want me to read it for you and tell you?
No, I don't want you to read it because you're no. I would like to. I wish I had read it and I just never got to it.
That's fair.
Yeah, Kelly, is there one that got away from you?
I mean, I'd wanted to get to Apprentice to the Villain. Just didn't get there. Maybe I'll get to it this year. There were a couple of other books that had caught my attention that I didn't get to. One was Floating Hotel by Grace Curtis. Then there were a couple of nonfiction books I'd wanted to read. For a while, I was reading a bunch of books about some of the espionage stuff that went on in World War II. You know, the old saying about how World War II was won because of American industry, Russian blood, and English intelligence. And so I read, like, year before last, I read Operation Mincemeat and some books that were like that about some of the crazy stuff that the intelligence services did during the war that probably significantly played a role but weren't found out about until, you know, all that stuff was declassified in the 90s. One of the books I wanted to read this year that came out was a book called D-Day Girls, and it's about spies, the spies in Vichy France during the occupation who were sabotaging the Nazis and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, becoming saboteurs because women were least likely to be suspected of being saboteurs, running around blowing stuff up, you know, doing all kinds of stuff. Oh, yeah. Completely
Nice.
all organized by women. They organized a train derailment. They blew up weapon caches. They destroyed a power plant. I mean, these women were pretty badass.
I like it.
And they were pretty much trained by the English, sent back over there with the directive to just set Europe ablaze in retaliation.
Fuck yeah.
And like half of them ended up getting caught and executed, and their story pretty much remained a secret until, you know, this came out and got declassified in like the 90s.
Wow.
So the women who didn't get
Definitely
caught
not
lived
boys.
with this secret, you know, until most of them had passed away by the time this was all declassified.
Wild. Very nice. I like it. Was that, do you say that was fiction?
No, it is nonfiction.
Oh,
That's like actually from the declassified, you know, MI6 English intelligence files that, you know, from all the stuff they did in the war, like Operation Mincemeat, where they dropped a dead body for the Germans to find to mislead the Germans about the D-Day invasion. Stuff like that. The English intelligence did some really crazy stuff. There's a lot of history from that era during the war years of the contributions that women and minorities made that have been largely ignored by history. I mean, we all know about see the pictures of Rosie the Riveter and all that kind of stuff, but there was a lot of other things that women and minorities were doing that still most people don't know about. And there's probably even still that nobody knows about still.
Yeah.
Very cool stuff.
If you guys haven't seen it, like I didn't read anything about it, but Kelly told me about the Operation Mincemeat. But there's a movie. Actually, it's got both the Darcys in it. It's got Matthew McFadyen and Colin Firth in it. But it's a good movie, and it tells you the craziness of like Operation Mincemeat and everything they did.
Yeah, the entire premise of what they did is so ludicrous, but it's all 100% factual.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty neat. I like that.
All right. The only other last two, everyone answered, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
The last two questions I had was just, I had put it out to everyone, whatever, and all the social media stuff to see if anyone had any questions for us. And we had a question from Elisa on Facebook, and it was just simple. Your favorite book, I guess, of the year. Favorite book and least favorite book. And I can start because I'm throwing this out at you guys. So least favorite book for me was Fledgling, which we've already talked about. And then favorite book of this year, I can't pick just one. Like there was 258 books and 49 of them were
That's a lot of
5-star books. So I read a lot of good books this year, but I can break it down by genre. So for sci-fi, it was A Psalm for the Wild Built. It was very, very good. And it's a tie between that one and Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. They were both very, very good sci-fi books I would recommend to anybody. For fantasy, Goblin Emperor, 100%. Beautiful story. Great listen. And then for romantasy, actually, it's going to be Between. That Chronicles of Between. It was a very well fleshed out world with a lot of really cool, quirky characters. And it's a book that I would recommend to just about anybody, and you could listen to with anybody. Other than the fact that it's long. It's a long book. But it's a really charming, cozy, quaint world. It makes you feel like you're watching a comfort TV show. So those are my answers.
So I'm digging here. I think the book that I liked this year that I don't think we've talked too much about was Bloodmarked, which is the second book in the Legendborn cycle series by Tracy Dion. And and I'm going to butcher this, so please don't make fun of me. It's an Arthurian tale.
Oh.
So I don't think I've ever read anything in the vein of, the Knight's Table and King Arthur. So this is a modern day, not necessarily retelling, because they bring in Arthurian legend. So basically it's kind of like powers that have been passed down through genealogy. But the twist with this one is that there's a young girl who's the main character, and she's of African American descent, which goes against everything that they've known as as they've been following the genealogy stuff. And I'm butchering it because I'm just coming on the spot with it. But I really liked book 1, and book 2 was released in January. So I'm not sure when book 3 comes out, but I was pleasantly surprised. I thought the plot was really well done. It is YA. So there's zero to no spice, but there is a whole love triangle situation. And it was just a really interesting concept to me of, powers being passed down through the generations isn't necessarily new, but I had not read anything, in the vein of Arthurian tales, and I thought that was really cool.
I've heard of this series. I haven't read it, but I have heard good things about it.
Yeah, I really liked it. It's not anything mind-blowing or brand new, probably to those who are familiar with the legends, but there are some flashbacks. There's a whole reason, obviously, why she's involved, and it actually digs into a lot of, history, African American history and that trauma. And I just thought it was very well done and very well explained. And I was a big fan.
Interesting. For me, least favorite book, A Dowry of Blood. Just wasn't my jam. And then favorite book, I had more 5-star reads than I thought I did, but the majority of those are nonfiction. So if I had to go with fiction, I would say, Iron Flame, but I don't want to leave it at just Iron Flame. I also want to say maybe so 3. My favorite 3. Wolf Gone Wild. I did enjoy Assistant to the Villain. Those 3.
Yeah.
Those 3 that's the trifecta for me. Kelly, did you have a best and a worst?
I only gave a 5-star to one book this year, and that was The Ministry of Time. By far and away, the best book I read this year. And the least favorite book I read this year, the book that I gave the lowest review to, was The Last Storm.
Hmm.
And we talked about that on the episode where we reviewed it. And most of that was, it was not a book I enjoyed. It wasn't my cup of tea because of a lot of the issues that were in the book. Many people enjoyed it, and that's great for them, but it wasn't for me.
I agree. I have that one marked low as well.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything else wrap up wise or for next year that we want to bring up or talk about before I wrap it up?
No, I just want to say thank you. It's been a great year of reading. Y'all have opened my world to new and exciting worlds, and I'm grateful for that.
It's been a fun ride with you guys. Yeah, it's been good. I'm glad we are doing this.
Agreed.
All right. Thanks for listening to Of Swords and Soulmates. Before we go, make sure to check out the show notes, rate, review, and subscribe to us on your podcast app of choice. It helps others to find us. Follow us on Instagram at Of Swords and Soulmates, or join our Facebook page at Of Swords and Soulmates. Check us out on our website, ofswordsandsoulmates.com, or on YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest, same username. If you'd like to offer a suggestion for a future episode, reach out to us on any of these options above or email us. If you want to read along with us as we prep for a new episode, follow us on Goodreads at Of Swords and Soulmates, or for chapter by chapter interaction on the Fable app at the Of Swords and Soulmates Book Club. And we hope you'll join us in 2 weeks for our next episode, when we will be talking about Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Bye-bye.
How'd you get Kelly? How'd you get Kelly into it? How'd you talk Kelly into it?